Okay, Boker Tov. Last week, as you know, we started the series of classes every Sunday morning on the topic of tefillah, prayer. And so the idea is to get behind the meaning of every single prayer that we do, starting from the very beginning in the morning with Netilat Yadayim, and of course going on in the major prayers throughout the different tefillot we do all day. So clearly the second prayer that we focus on in the morning is Birkat Asher Yatzar, right? We wake up, we wash our hands, we do Netilat Yadayim, and then we jump right into Birkat Asher Yatzar. And so not many people know that we are in an official partnership with ourselves. What does that mean, partnership? We all know that the body is comprised of two elements, if you will. There's the physical, the goof, and then there's the neshama, the spiritual side, right? And sometimes these different elements are at odds with each other, right? They each want different things, right? We know what physicality wants, and it's typically not what spirituality wants. And that is a challenge within each and every single one of us to try to find a balance between the two. And really,
it's constant.
You're right, yeah. And so the Yetzer Hara tries to battle us towards physicality, but of course the Yetzer Hara Tov and our neshama tries to pull towards spirituality and towards the way of Hashem. Okay, this is exactly so. We have two brachot that clearly define these two aspects. Birkat Asher Yatzar focuses on the physicality, the physical, and then of course the very next bracha, Elohai Neshama, focuses on the spiritual, okay? So remember, these are one kind of combined entities, right? Because we are in partnership with each other, but let's just focus on the physical blessing today, which is Asher Yatzar, okay? Now, let's go through this bracha. And by the way, it's not just when you wake up, clearly, it's when you relieve yourself, you go to the restroom. That's the bracha that you have to say, of course, clearly every time. And we'll see exactly why we do that bracha. Now the bracha is, of course, on a simple level, saying, thank you, Hashem, for giving us a functioning, normal, healthy body, right? That's at the very basic level, right? And so let's go into the bracha. It says, Asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah, who fashioned man with wisdom. What does Rav Schwab say? He says, we're praising actually Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for his wisdom in the creation of man, right? And of course the bracha goes on, Uvara vo nikavim nikavim, chalulim chalulim, galui biyadua lifnei chisich chevodecha, she'im yipateach echad. What does that mean? And it continues, mehem o yivisatem echad mehem. He created within him many openings, crevices, and it's openly known before your throne of glory that if one of the organs, which is usually closed, should open, and that refers to chalulim. Or if one that should be open were to close, that's referring to nikavim, then lo aleinu, we wouldn't be able to stand 1 second, because it continues, I'efshar litkayem v'la'amud lefanecha, right? And it says, the text of this bracha, it continues with afilu sha echat, meaning it would be impossible even for a single moment to last in front of Hashem, to stand before Hashem, if these organs were not working properly. And then of course the bracha continues, Baruch atah Hashem, rufei kol basar umafli la'asot, blessed are you Hashem, who heals all flesh and acts wondrously, right? So the greatest act, we've all heard in English vernacular that prevention is the greatest medicine, right? Go to the gym, you eat right, that's the greatest medicine to prevent any diseases that come. Where does that come from? Of course, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from Shemot, chapter 15, verse 26, when literally Hashem says, "Kol hamachala asher samti b'mitzrayim lo asim alecha ki ani Adonai rofecha." What does that mean? It says, any of the diseases that I placed upon Egypt, I will not bring upon you, for I am Hashem, your healer. So this is where we have a reference to the prevention of disease called healing. Hashem Rofecha. Hashem is the ultimate healer in the world, right? So we're all guilty of taking our bodies for granted. We know that. It's an incredibly complicated piece of work. And we all take it for granted that we get up, we go to the restroom, we can move our hands, our eyesight. That still baffles the medical world today, how our body functions, right? So therefore, it's important to recognize the bracha v'asher yatzar, to focus on the recognition that there are miracles performed every second in our body that we have no clue. And it's all because of Hashem. So we find an interesting reference to the wondrous workings of the normal, healthy body, where? In Tehillim 35, verse 10, where it says, and it's in the Nishmat prayer that we say every Shabbat, it says what? Right? Matzilani mechazak mimenu ve'ani ve'evion migozelo. What does that mean? It says, all my limbs will say, quote, Hashem, who is like you, deliverer of the poor from one mightier than he, of the poor and the destitute from the one who robs him. Now, on the surface, there seems to be absolutely no connection between the first part of the pasuk and the last part. What does that mean? It says the first part of the pasuk refers to the body. All my limbs will say. And then the second part is talking about the protection of the poor. What do those two have in common at all? If you reflect a little bit deeper on this, we think the second part of the sentence also refers to the body, right? Protection of the poor. How? Miraculously, if you look at the body and all the internal controls, there are larger organs and there are smaller organs, right? And the demands of the larger organs, right, are more intense than the smaller ones. So you would think that the larger organs would grab everything, all the nutrients, literally rob from the poor. But no, that's not the way Hashem created the body. He created the body that even the poorest, the smallest of the organs would have all the nutrients and everything it needed to pass. So that's what that's referring to. So every time we say Nishmat, you can remember exactly this. Now, there are a few obvious questions in the bracha. It says, Asher yatzar adam b'chokhmah. The first question is, what's so unique about the bodily system of a human being? Right? Don't these systems also exist in animals? Right? Animals have bodies and organs and so on. So, and on top of that, it says, the bracha ends, Rofeh chol basar, means he heals all flesh. So again, why are we only focused on the human when he says all flesh, which should include all animals, right? That's the first question. The second, what is the repetition, nikavim, nekavim, chalulim, chalulim? Why do we say it twice? Why don't we just say nikavim, chalulim? Why do we have to say it twice? And the third question, it says, galui v'yadua lifni chiseh chevodecha, which means it is openly known before your throne of glory. Right? What do you mean the throne of glory? What does the throne of glory have to do with anything? And even to make it more complicated, right? Hashem clearly has different malachim that perform duties on his behalf, right? Even the malach hamavet performs duties on behalf of Hashem, right? And they're the ones that, if Hashem dictates to bring sickness, God forbid, to this particular person, they're the ones that execute that judgment, right? And they're the ones that are at the throne of glory, just waiting for the instructions from Hashem, right? And they don't even know what the throne of glory is. There are many instances that says, right, in the tefillot of Rosh Hashanah, in the zichronot portion of the Rosh Hashanah, it says, "En shichecha lifnei kiseh chevodecha." There is no forgetfulness before your throne of glory. So then the question is, what's the connection between the throne of glory and our most basic bodily functions, right? So, as we mentioned, there is a partnership between the guf and the neshama. Partnership, right? They're clearly imbued together. Think about this. Think of a balloon that's filled with air, and we tie it, right? The air does not escape, right? What happens if you put the size of a needle inside the balloon? What happens? The air starts to let out. Can you imagine what miracle it is that our neshama doesn't escape our body? From the myriad of crevices, from the eyes and the nose and the nostrils and the mouth and the ears and other parts below the belt, the neshama can easily, it's a miracle that Hashem keeps the neshama in the body. In the body. We don't think about these things, right? Now, the reference to Kisei HaKavod, the throne of glory, that's where the neshama comes from, right? Literally before a person's born, Hashem sends 40 days before the person's born, the neshama goes down to make a mission into the world, right? And the neshama knows this from the very beginning. The neshama knows that he or she is in a partnership with the human body, right? And so what happens? The ministering angels, they ask each other, where is this place of glory? Even the angels don't even know exactly, they can't even grasp the concept of Hashem. So surely the angels don't even grasp. Surely humans can't even grasp, right? That's why, so that's the reference to mafli la'asod, where he says he acts wondrously, meaning what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has attached the highest forms of spirituality, what we call ruchniot, to the lowest levels of what we call gashmiut, which is physicality. And that is what is wondrous, right? So when the expression of mafli la'asot, where does it come from? It comes from David HaMelech. David HaMelech in his Tehillim 139, it says, lines 13 and 14, it says literally, I'll translate in English, it says, wondrous are your works, and my soul knows it well. Yeah. Tisukunti bevetenimi odecha alki noraod. Ma'asecha v'nafshi yodaat meod. My soul is acutely aware from the moment of conception that it has a mission in this world to come down into the goof. And it knows that there's a challenge between the two. He knows there's friction between the two. And the soul clearly has a mission to accomplish. So the bracha, let's all sum it up here. So Asher yatzar et Adam b'chokhmah, it refers specifically to man, not the animals. Why? Because the combination of the neshama and the guf is very unique only to man. It is not unique to animals. We're not going to get deep on a Kabbalistic level here. We're just saying it's unique to man. That Hashem has given man and woman a neshama. Human being, a neshama to hold the body. Now, those of you who know, like, the neshama elevates the body. Not only spiritually, but physically. Literally. That's why you say when someone is sleeping and they say that the soul kind of 1/60th of that, because the soul kind of goes up in Shemaim. They say when you dream, that's what the soul is seeing up in Shemaim, right? Some people say. But the body, you ever try to carry someone who's sleeping or a child? The body is a lot heavier when they're sleeping, when they're actually up, if you notice that. And same thing goes, lo aleinu, like someone who, God forbid, passes away. The body is a lot heavier because the soul has already exited the body, right? So the bracha, to sum it all up, when it says the spirituality, Adam Harut Chani, that's the spiritual man, right? Now, let's go a little bit further, which I learned this a few years ago, which is beautiful. The body has, you know how many organs the body has? Does someone want to guess? How many organs? 248. Beautiful. How many sinews or ligaments does the body have? 365. Does anyone want to take a guess how many positive mitzvot there are in the Torah? 248. Thank you. How many negative? Like lo? 365. Beautiful. Each one of these organs and sinews correspond to a different mitzvah, right? And as much as they are physical, there is a spiritual component to every single organ and every single sinew. So when we say Asher yatzar et Adam, means that man and only man was created with what? Chalulim, nikavim, nekavim, which is what? It's a parallel system of organs. That's why we repeat the words, because there is literally a physical, what we call nekev, and there's a spiritual. And for every physical, there's a spiritual, and for every spiritual, there's a physical, right? So that's why we repeat the words. And we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for creating us the ability to function as a dual being, meaning physical and spiritual. So, in summing up, finally at the end, the ending of the bracha consists of two parts. It says, Rofeh chol basar, he heals all flesh, meaning we thank Hashem for the normal healthy workings of the body, of all creatures, right? And then it says, Umafli la'asot, he acts wondrously, as we learn. So, this should, every time you guys come out of the restroom, wake up in the morning, B'ezrat Hashem, this will shed a little bit more light as to the meaning of the bracha Asher yatzar et Adam. And remember, this focuses on the physicality. And B'ezrat Hashem, not next week, but in 2 weeks, we'll focus on the next one, which focuses on the spiritual side of the bracha. So thank you for listening, guys. Yes.